second speaker. She's not going to rest on her laurels at all. Maureen is going to share with you some insight she's gained regarding her leadership style, and she's reflected on a long history as a mother, an occupational therapist, a professor, and most recently a realtor, all which require leadership skills that motivate people to do the thing that needs to be done, which may not want to be done. She will share what she has found works when developing a leadership style that is productive in goal achievement and team building. She will present for 5 to 7 minutes on the Pathways Unit 2 Pathways Program Dynamic Leadership Path Project, Understanding Your Leadership Style, and she hopes to inspire you to examine your own style of leadership. She will share her results from the questionnaire she has completed, and she asks you to carefully consider whether your current style is team building or team defeating. Please help me welcome Maureen Dufresne. Did you want the spoon?
Yeah.
No.
Yep. Good morning, Toastmasters and Jack. Welcome.
Good morning.
Have you ever had that boss that demanded you do something you knew was not ethical? And when you declined, they insisted, don't worry, that's what everybody's been doing here. It's okay. I have. Have you ever had that employee that when asked to go to new territory because you're short-staffed, they look at you and decline? That's not my territory. It's not in my job description. I have. Has it left you wondering, how can I possibly be a manager and ask people to do what I know myself is wrong? As a parent, I'm a manager. I've had to negotiate bedtimes, homework schedules, studying for tests, using computers, being respectful, teaching them manners, making the right thank you notes they did not want to write. I knew I never wanted to be the boss or the director of a department. I never wanted to ask others to do the things as a field clinician I knew were neither ethical or allowed me to provide the best quality of care for my patients. This was not always easy. Having an Ivy League education and a master's degree almost always lends itself to the eventual discussion of, I want you to be a manager. My father used to say to me, why don't you just be the boss? You wouldn't have to lift a patient. I did finally accept a managerial position on my own terms. I carefully crafted my job description I could live with. I became a field supervisor, responsible for training in therapeutic skills, computer use, and scheduling therapists. This required negotiation skills in order to get therapists to see patients in towns they may not want to go to. This is not an easy task, and one in which my bosses before me failed miserably and lost staff. The mystery to many of my bosses was, how could I manage to get people to do what they could not without threats of quitting from employees? I learned many skills that follow my key belief system and how I personally could and should manage those I work with and for. First, I had to learn to reach out. I had to learn the process of asking people for help. When I started my real estate career at a large brokerage firm, because I had read in the books, that's what you should do to be successful and wealthy and rich and make progress and thrive in this career. I walked in and I was handed all kinds of fancy training, and I was told, make 25 contacts a day, write them down. knock on 10 to 15 doors a day, every day. I would come into my coaching sessions with my supervisor, sweating bullets. This was not how I wanted to develop my real estate business. I walked into her office one day and I said, "Can you tell me if I'm going to survive in this field, doing things the way that I know I need to for me? If not, I will walk out that door and I will not come back." She said, "The only way you're going to make it is by knocking on doors and making phone calls." I came home and I cried. I cried and I cried. Inside of me, I knew the way to manage my business was to connect with people in a real, authentic, and organic way. For me, it couldn't be forced. I had taken what I had learned as a supervisor, and now I was the student, developing my own way, my own path of becoming eventually a broker or a manager. I knew this was not for me. I then left and joined a small brokerage firm of 5 agents. When I told my large brokerage firm I was leaving, I was threatened, I was harassed, I was told I would be a failure, I was told I would never make it in this, that I would be poor on the street, it would never work, that my office was small. She was able to quote the salaries of all of the 5 agents I would go to work for. I knew I had made the right decision by walking out that door. To this day, that agency calls me weekly, begging me to come back, critiquing my lack of listings. I knew I had made the right choice. Yet when you go out into this field of real estate, people want the big name. They want to know you're from that big brokerage who sold that many properties. But I'm okay with that because I have the time to be there for my clients. I know it's important and I will work ethically. So when I took the Pathways assessment for managerial style, I was a little nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it was going to tell me. Was I going to fail? Was I going to have to change? What I knew followed my moral code. I was pleased when it came out that my style is what I have lived and breathed. I scored the highest in coaching, which is when the leader concentrates on preparing individuals for futures by building skills. I was altruistic. The leader excels in individuals or groups that have not yet realized their full potential. And lastly, my highest score was democratic. The leader motivates by challenging the individual. I feel I have woven those into my careers, whether it was as a mother, as a therapist, and will continue to be so as a realtor. The other skill I had to learn from all of my various jobs was influence without authority. Delegating tasks has always been hard for me. I'm a perfectionist. I always think that I have to micromanage so that it gets done right, and I tend not to let people go off and do their own thing without checking. As a realtor, I've had to delegate more than I have used to. I can't be at every house closing, inspection, or open house, so it became important to both empower and trust those on my team. It was key in getting the job done. I did this not by dictating to my coworkers, but by negotiating what I could do for them in return for their assistance and their valuable time. Perhaps offering a fee for their time and effort to recognize their cooperation and time. I had to learn to accept the hiccups. As someone who is also, again, a perfectionist, I have had to come to accept that not everything in a transaction is going to go smoothly. Things don't always shape up the way you plan, so you have to see it as part of the process and not take it personally. It helps you to be more creative with problem solving. I had to accept an email might not have made it to the lawyer in time, that I would now need to make sure I followed up with a phone call. It was imperative to accept the error, apologize for it, and never repeat it. Lastly, it's important to show you care. As a manager, I've always felt that showing concern for your colleagues is key to leading well. At the end of the day, what really matters is being kind to people. When you acknowledge that your team members have lives and challenges of their own that you may or may not be aware of, it makes for great opportunities to help and be helped. One of my colleagues' mother was terminal in the last 2 weeks. I offered to do open houses for him, to be at her side. I did not wait to be asked. I anticipated the conflict and offered help before it was asked. Do not ask others to do what you are not willing to do for yourself. And with that, I challenge you all to look at your own managerial styles and figure out what is goal influencing and what is team defeating. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Some things to think about in terms of our own